get us started with the roll call.
Thank you. Each member is acknowledging that they are attending the meeting via Zoom and that they are located in Wayne County, Michigan, unless otherwise stated when I call your name. Commissioner Varga?
Present.
Commissioner Marecki?
Here.
Commissioner Baydoun has requested an excuse. Commissioner Kinlock, is he on yet?
We'll give him a temporary excuse until he logs in, I guess, and hopefully he'll be on shortly.
All right, and then Chair Anderson.
Present.
You have a quorum.
Thank you. Next, my remarks. I have no remarks at this time. I will have, I have a few questions later on, but I think we will move on, Madam Clerk.
We're moving past item B, Chairman's remarks, to item C, approval of the May 20, 2021 meeting minutes.
Move approval.
Do I have support?
Support.
Thank you. All those in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Anyone opposed? Seeing none, it's approved. The minutes are approved.
We're moving to item D, which is new business. Item D1, an update from James Heath, Carter Fisher, Jay Shandor, Bill Rath, and Victoria Inniss-Edwards regarding the status of the criminal justice complex.
Is Mr. Heath here today? Don't think I saw him logged in.
James let me know that he would be a little bit late this afternoon, Commissioner Anderson. So if you don't mind, I'll start the comments and be followed by Bill and Tori, and if James is available, he will join us.
Okay, go ahead.
Thank you. So Carter Fisher with Wayne County Corporation Council. This last month, as you will see in the report, we're making great strides in many areas of the CJC in terms of construction. A lot of the construction has moved internally. A lot of work on the external facets of the buildings has been completed. So we're focusing more on internal systems, and as part of that, we're conducting reviews with CGL, ROC, and our end users on various aspects of the internals of the building. So we've been looking at things from wireless strength signals for the internet in the building to radio strength signals to all sorts of facets of the design that the end users are trying to figure out how they're going to operate within sort of the contours of a new building. So we're really sort of crystallizing all aspects of the inside of the facility right now. A few big developments that I'd like to share with you. Over the last month or so, we've been talking, and we've talked a little bit about a substation that was on site. The substation was previously occupied by Detroit's Lighting Authority, and it was powering things around the Midtown area actually, but has recently been deactivated, and it was positioned to be right in front of our court building. So we wanted it deactivated, we wanted it demolished. The city of Detroit has helped us get to that point where it's been deactivated. We're currently reviewing the sort of environmentals that go into demolition, and we've already received some feedback from a company that can do at least some of the cleanup required, remove some of the heavy equipment from inside the substation, potentially do the demolition depending on what remediation is required environmentally. And when that's accomplished, working with ROC, we'll be able to add more parking to the site as well. So we're cautiously optimistic about how that process is going. And we're waiting on a little bit of environmental information from ROC's consultant about what kind of remediation we might be looking at there, but we're hoping to have that soon and get demolition underway within the next couple of months to prepare for paving that area for parking. To that end, we're also looking at other parking options. You may receive some proposals soon about expanded parking in other areas and other parcels that the county owns. So we're we've heard some concerns both from this committee and from end users in the past on parking, and we're focusing on that pretty heavily internally. So,
Carter, if I could inject a question here.
Sure.
So is that on-site parking or is it a distance away?
So the substation parking would be on-site parking. The substation was located directly in
Sure.
front of where the court building would have been. So that would be on-site parking, probably with easiest access to both the juvenile detention facility and the court itself. So that's where we're looking at adding parking in the near future, but we're exploring other off-site parking options as well.
Okay, all right. Go ahead.
Sure. And then one of the other big items that we've been tackling for a long time, really, but is coming increasingly into focus now is the furniture, fixtures, and equipment for the project. I know Tori has been integral to that process, and so I'll let her talk a little bit about her role in that later. But just at the outset, I want to say CGL has been engaged for a long time with ROC, with the end users, on what we need in terms of FF&E, and obviously that goes a long way to making this a successful project. Recently, we've come to terms with and successfully negotiated a contract with one of the big suppliers for our FF&E, who's going to do a lot of the procurement, who's very experienced in this area. And so that's an agreement that should be coming to the commission soon for approval. We're pretty pleased with the way it worked out, and hopefully once you get your arms around the finer details of it, you'll be pleased as well. But they're going to take on the bulk of the county's responsibility as far as furniture, fixtures, and equipment. It's going to enable us to be flexible also with Tori's group in terms of reaching out to local businesses for a lot of that supplying. So that's something to look forward to. And that's something big that we've been working on recently. Other than that, I don't have too many other major updates, but I will turn it over to Bill for a little bit more on the construction side of things, if that's all right.
Just to follow up, Carter, I just wanted to ask you, first of all, I almost didn't recognize you. You look a little different, maybe a little lighter on the face. I don't know, but I know the warm weather is getting here. So did want to ask, what you just mentioned a minute ago, I wasn't sure if that was had to do with the cafeteria, but it sounded like the entire project you're talking about FF&E.
Right. Yes.
But the cafeteria, I'm just wanted to ask, get an update on that, the contract that was being worked out.
Yeah. So that we've agreed to terms with that contractor. That contract should also be making its way to you shortly. I know he's very anxious to get to work with sort of his contractors that will be doing the finishings and furnishings in his area. But what I was speaking about was more global. You're right about the project as a whole. We've entered an agreement, or we're entering an agreement with a contractor who will do a lot of procurement side for stuff for us.
Okay, and did that work out pretty favorably financially? I mean, I'm trying to remember what the cost we had estimated that contractor or the vendor was going to be contributing towards that.
For the cafeteria?
Right, for the cafeteria. Right.
So he agreed to contribute $300,000 to the sort of completion of the cafeteria area, and that was actually, so his initial proposal was around $200,000. When we spoke with him about the type of facility we're building, the things we'd be looking for, just trying to make sure that this is as up to date and state of the art as possible in every respect. He went back and did a little bit more work on his proposal and on, what the things he'd like to see in that space as well, keeping in mind, that this is a totally new space that we'd like to last long into the future. And he came back with $300,000, which we think is more than adequate to finish out sort of a first-class dining facility in the space. So.
Okay, and again, that I think we had the tour, and those that took the tour, I believe it was a couple of weeks ago now, they I think it was indicated that that is going to be for visitors to the court as well as the employees. Is that correct?
That's absolutely right. It's totally accessible to the public, and it's designed to be big enough to serve both the public and employees. It's if you've seen the space in Frank Murphy, it's much smaller than what we're talking about now. We've more than doubled the space from the Frank Murphy Eatery to this one.
And anyone getting in there would be screened, correct? As though they're going into even the court or the jail or anything. The security would still be strong.
That's right.
Okay. All right. Go ahead. Proceed.
So I'll turn it over to Bill. Bill, if you wouldn't mind sharing some updates on the construction progress.
Sure. I think I think the group walked the building at the site 2 weeks ago, I believe, and I was out of town, so I wasn't able to be there. But I heard generally positive feedback from that tour, and I think that the commissioners have a pretty good sense of current state of construction. I think we're somewhere in the order of 53% complete, and work is happening very rapidly, I think is a good way to say it. I don't know, Carter, if you want me to drill down into any other details beyond that, but like you say, we've gone through a pretty detailed review with all the user groups and provided that feedback to ROC and HOK and Bart Mallis, so they're working through that process. As you mentioned, we're diving deeply into the FF&E scope of work, and part of that is the wireless system that you talked about, ensuring that the wireless system has the capacity we need for employees and members of the public, as well as the incarcerated population within the building, right? So a lot of focus happening, and I think our team is actually looking forward to getting back to one of our key responsibilities of transition planning, which is working with all the user groups to to help plan and manage the change as we have all the user groups converge into this complex. So I think there's going to be a fair amount of change management that needs to happen, and that requires a lot of preparation. And assuming we can work through that smoothly with all the user groups in a timely fashion, that should facilitate a successful transition to occupancy and use of the new facility in the first quarter of 23. So that's our focus. We're trying to shift away from the day-to-day construction and really get into the transition planning with the user groups. Commissioner Anderson, any kind of questions or thoughts?
I do. I didn't know if I would. I thought I could ask them, I guess, at this time. Did have a couple of questions. It looks like about 4 here. That if we could get some type of an estimate or I don't know if a study's been done, if there was any change in the number. I know the capacity is going to be 2,200 not cells, but that'll hold that number of prisoners. Is there any, we've been consistently averaging about 1,100 beds, and I don't think, I'm trying to remember if we look and see if we have anyone from the Sheriff's Department online, but doesn't look like we do. We may have to get some of these questions over there, but maybe you can approach these with Mr. Heath and see if we can get some answers to a few questions. Right now, like I said, the capacity of the structure or the facility is going to be 2,200, if I'm correct, and but it's been averaging the number of people in our jail facilities are about 1,100. So the question was, would we save anything if the jail cells were, were not built out completely, if they were not furnished completely, and would there be, would there be savings down the road if we were to do that? I think there's some people that are concerned about whether or not we need that number of a facility that large, or at least completely built out. I know the building itself, we can't make any changes in the building at the point that it is right now. But you know what I'll do, Carter, is I'll shoot these questions to you in an email, and you can run them by Mr. Heath, and then get us maybe some answers for the next meeting. The other one had to do with questions that would be something that would be sent to the sheriff's department, I believe, to know questions about the Hamtramck site. But as of now, is there any plans to bring those prisoners into the new jail facility?
From
And
Jail Division 3?
Yes. And
Yes.
close that facility?
Right. That is the plan at this time, at least in terms of moving inmates from Division 3 to this jail. All three jails are meant to be replaced by this. So it would be Divisions 1, 2, and 3.
Right.
In terms of future plans for Division 3, I really can't say. I don't think a decision has been made there, but it will no longer be used as a jail facility.
That's I'll like I said, I'll submit it to you in an email, and you can then pass it. The two of you can discuss it. But
wait,
'cause
Commissioner,
I know
actually,
there's yes.
oh, sorry, yeah, this is Joe Slezak. Sorry to step
Yeah.
in, but we recently had an update at the PS&J meeting with Chief Dunlap, and all of the inmates have been already moved out of Division 3. They've already been transferred to the downtown jails. So the only use for Division 3 right now is cafeteria, laundry, the tether unit. So basically, there are no inmates currently at Division 3, but it is still being used for those other functions.
Okay. I'm curious too, is I would like to find out if it's going to be used for anything once everything is shifted over, or if the plan is to keep it operational for what is being used for currently. But anyway, I'll put these in writing to you, and hopefully with the help of the sheriff's department to get an answer on a couple of those questions. But anyway, Victoria.
Hi, Victoria Edwards, Director of Wayne County Human Relations Division, Business Inclusion. I'm going to piggyback a little bit off of what Carter was talking about. I'm going to start with the FF&E. We are working hand in hand with CGL, as well as I know Carter was alluding to our other group, which is Source Blue. You'll be seeing that very soon. We're working with them and the end user to ensure that as we buy items, we are buying what they are going to need, getting the best price, the best quality, as well as the outreach efforts to ensure that we are reaching down and drilling down and make sure that we have Wayne County businesses, women-owned businesses, and minority businesses registered and ready to bid on those. Again, we did a huge outreach earlier in April, and it was our gear up to get them basically in the pipeline. So what we're doing is we're getting businesses registered, not only with the county, so we want to get them registered and certified. We want to get those numbers up, but we also want to make sure that we are getting them in the pipeline so that our procurement team, and our procurement team, when you hear us talk about Wayne County procurement, it's a hybrid. So it is Aaron and his team, but Aaron and his team, we have an expansion, are going to be working with our consultants to make sure that we can do everything timely and with quality. I meet with the team every other Thursday. We're meeting later on today, where we look at a commodity and we're looking at who we already have in the pipeline, how we reach out to people. So that is going very, very well. One of the specialty areas or the specialty packages, lockers, that will be going on the street very soon. For bid for that portion, and that is gun lockers as well as the physical lockers that the sheriff's department will be using and all the end users will be using as well. We've done some heavy recruiting for that. I'm very excited that we have a multitude of women-owned, county-based, and minority-owned businesses that are going to be interested in bidding on that one. Again, I know Bill talked about we are a little bit over 50% complete with the build. So understand as we have finished the outside shell, again, more and more trades are starting to come on. You're getting painting, you're getting drywall. So you're going to see our workforce numbers coming up. You will have a new report, quarterly report, the first, so it'll be, okay, 4th of July, probably about the 7th or the 8th. So our next meeting, I am hoping that I'll have the updated report, and that'll give you the business percentages and our workforce numbers where we are. And we're tracking on a very good trend right now. I know I said months ago where it looked a little lower. Give us some time as the trades build up and we're getting more people on and more areas, we're able to get even more workers on the site. One of the other things is ensuring that all the commissioners, I just want to remind you, I've said it before, and please use me, Carter, as well, just in case you forget about me for a second. If there's a business in your district that you know, you're interested in making sure that, say, hey, just shoot me an email, say, hey, Victoria, what about, Mark's Locksmith or whoever it might be, they might be interested. If anything, we at least send them an email and an invitation to make sure that they get registered. So recruitment is constant for us. Just because you might not see a huge, pretty picture flyer going on, we are constantly recruiting. We're also constantly still working with the owner's advocate, and their mandate is to constantly recruit. We have partnered, we meaning the Division of Human Relations Business Inclusion. We are working with China Cochran and her team, and she's out of the Executive Office External Affairs. They do a lot of community outreach as well. So we're partnering up as they're going out to events, making sure that they are armed with information so we can tell people, hey, get yourself registered. We need to know who you are. And so I would ask if you know of anybody, we again continue to recruit all the time. It's nothing but an email and an outreach, reach out to them. We want to make sure everybody is included. So really that is it. We are kind of in mid-cycle. I think all of us are doing a lot of crossing the T's and dotting our I's right now. And I'm sure I'm going to have for you in July, after we get that next quarter report, some more substantial and actually the actual numbers for Wayne County workforce and where we are on the inclusion goals for our businesses.
Okay, very good. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
I know on the tour, Bill, for both of your benefits, I had asked someone, I believe it was a CGL representative, if we could possibly get some exterior shots that would give photographs I'm talking about, that would give a sense of the total project. Because we get in the updates, we get certain sections of the complex, but it doesn't really give a perspective of the outside, the whole campus, let's call it. And but I think it'd be beneficial to us because we would like to update constituents and what it looks like now and what how the progress is going on the facility. But
To that point, Mr. Chair, someone asked me about aerial shots. Do we ever do those? Somebody was asking me if they could see a series of those and how that's changing through the time.
I'll go to Carter, but I know we did early on. I think we got a few exterior shots, but it's been quite a while. So I'd like to see if it'd be possible, just as you mentioned, to get some up-to-date ones.
Are you talking about aerial shots?
The drone shot. I think they use a drone.
Okay.
That's right. So on occasion we have flown a drone up and taken shots of the project as a whole, and so I can see where we are in terms of having the most up-to-date ones and distribute those, and also see what we can do about getting sort of a time lapse so you can see the progress that we've made so far on site.
Great. Okay. Thank you.
Thanks, Commissioner Ruckley. And any other commissioners have?
Mr. Chair?
Yes. Yes, Commissioner Barga.
I personally am not worried about the size of the jail because I remember a few years back, we were carting people up to Clare County and other counties to house our inmates because we didn't have enough room. And I believe one of our county, our neighbor counties was going to build a jail and then decided not to. So if their capacity or anyone else's fails, or they could possibly rent from us, that would be an ideal for the space that we are going to finish. So I think that space could be utilized to rent out if we wanted to or needed to. And I think some counties would probably not mind bringing some of their inmates to a new jail. The thing that I really want to find out, and I think that only comes from the sheriff's department, and maybe we could have them come in at one of our meetings, is some of the policy changes that they might make with the new jail. I know it's related and it's not, but I would like to make sure that our technology is such that if they change the system by which the inmates communicate with their loved ones, that we would be ready. For example, if they wanted to do a Zoom call, because the phone call is so expensive, it might be cheaper just to Zoom. I don't know. But that has been an issue. The cost of the phone calls that inmates make, and normally they charge it and it's even more, or they have to have someone accept the charge. So I think we really, really have to look at those numbers, because, God forbid my son got in there. I would not want to have to spend $13, $14 for a dollar call just because it's in the jail. I think it's ridiculous. I know the money goes to commissary and it benefits the inmates as a whole, but I think we could do it better than that. So I would be really interested in some policy changes as well as the building changes, and that goes along. I think it's purviewed to us because we are dealing with the new jail system. So I would like to have some discussion as we're doing technology as to how can we make it better to communicate other than just having a phone company like we do now come in and charge us so much. I mean, there's got to be a better way. I can't hear you.
You're on mute.
Sorry about that. To your point, Commissioner Varga, I think it does present us an opportunity to get an update on that, and maybe Carter can work from his side of it, the technology on that, if there's some changes that are planned that would make maybe some of the number of phone calls that are currently the only mode of communicating with family members, see if there's something else being planned. And then I know as far as the policy side, we'll have to have the sheriff's department, the sheriff or undersheriff, someone from the department answering those questions and give us an update on that. I think it's a very good point. I think.
I just think we're ripping. I think we're ripping the families off of the inmates, and I don't think that really has been taken under consideration for a long time. Right.
So I don't know, Carter, you don't have anything right at this time you wanted to mention on, do you?
Actually, this has been a topic of some discussion, not necessarily from a policy perspective. You're right that is more the purview of the sheriff's office, and the cost of an individual call is really determined between the sheriff and their vendor. But in terms of updating technology and making sure that this new facility is as up to date as possible and sort of as technically proficient as possible, that's certainly been a big concern and big focus for us to date. So we're working on having tablets that are accessible to any and every inmate for video visits, and that's part of the reason that our focus recently has been on making sure that the internet service and wireless internet is strong throughout the facility. We're looking at having video calls as an option in addition to phone calls, both as in terms of being cost effective and in terms of, this is where the technology is now. So why would we sell ourselves short in that respect? So we are certainly trying to expand sort of our technological capabilities in that regard, and we can certainly convey sort of the overarching policy concerns to the sheriffs and see if what they're doing to address that. But as far as technology, we are absolutely trying to be as up to date as possible with this facility.
Okay, all right.
Is there any
that
way,
all?
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Is there any way, if we have AT&T or whoever we're going to have our phone lines through, why could we not have it for the inmates as well?
In terms of sort of having the same service for inmates as for the offices in the building, is that the question?
Yeah, instead of having to carve out a system just for the inmates, is there any way to incorporate their phone system into ours, or it may be more difficult because they have to go through different channels for security reasons?
So there are certainly some security concerns with that, and additionally, my understanding is the way that the contracts typically work with vendors is that the vendor that's doing the phone service typically actually provides a lot of the sort of physical equipment that we're using. So they'll provide the actual phones and connections to the phone lines, or they'll provide the actual tablets, that sort of thing. But there may be options that we're sort of not fully considering yet. We haven't made a ton of progress with vendors in this area as of yet, I don't think. And typically that's something that we would actually leave to the sheriffs to decide, because they're the ones who work with the vendors on a day-to-day basis. But we can certainly ask those sorts of questions and try to figure out how we can better integrate, especially since, as you said, we're building a bigger facility that has tons of end users now, how we can better integrate with their overall services.
Right. I appreciate that. Sort of reminds me of the olden days when we had our wall phones, and we had to dial it out, and I could see having community phones that they could call out on, but not the charges. It's just, but I'll take it to another discussion day. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Commissioner. Any other commissioners? I think there's maybe just the three of us still on. I did send Commissioner Ken Locke a message, but anyway, I did want to ask Bill, in CGL's experience, have they seen different types of systems? I assume you're looped into the discussion on this, or on what's happening with the technology and that to make, well, not make them obsolete, but substitute, I guess, for the telephones themselves.
I do know that there are provisions, and I think they're fairly extensive provisions for video visitation.
Okay.
And Carter mentioned the availability of tablets for prisoners to utilize to communicate with friends and family. The business model that underlies that infrastructure, I think, is at issue, right? And I think that's the discussion point here is there's a cost that comes with that, right? You have hardened equipment, you have secured equipment, et cetera. I do know that in some conversations with the procurement team for the county, there is a procurement process that we're going to work through. And I think that's, there ought to be some sensitivity to that. Clearly, the technology has advanced. I think the reference to the wall phone, that we all kind of grew up with, or at least I grew up with, right? There ought to be some economies available. And I think that's something the purchasing team is going to look at. So,
right. Good. Yeah,
I think we should be prepared to report back on that. I don't think we're quite there yet, but certainly I can appreciate the sensitivity of the concern.
Yeah, Commissioner Varga will follow up on this and hopefully get an update in a future meeting.
Commissioner Anderson, can you guess or look forward to the next 20 years of where this technology will take us? We're going to talk about the video conferencing like it was an old tool.
Right, exactly. Yep. Okay. Anything additional from the three of you that you have for the monthly report? If you have any.
Actually, I do have one item that I should have mentioned earlier. Okay. We did have a sort of another big milestone on the project in May, and earlier this month we hooked up, if you remember, the two lines that we discussed in 2019 from DTE's separate substations to the central utility plant. Right. Mm-hmm. We hooked up those electrical lines and powered them on earlier this month. So there is power running to the cup right now. They're undergoing testing and commissioning at the cup, which will go through August probably, and then the cup will be fully operational, and so we'll have all the power we need to complete the construction, as well as water service as needed. So that'll be where we, next winter, that'll be where we get our heating from. Next summer, that's where we'll get our cooling from, in addition to whatever other power and water needs we have on site. That's a big step forward as far as the project is concerned.
So is that going to be totally electric operated? The jail itself, the heating is not. There's not going to be any natural gas.
There is some natural gas as well. So there will be gas in some areas and electric in others.
Okay. Yeah, I would have been surprised if there was not natural gas, and at least for the heating side of it. But if there's nothing else from your report, I guess I can go to Mark Abbo. I see you're online. Did you have any questions or comments this time?
Just a comment, Mr. Chairman. I was really pleased to hear Bill say that we're transitioning from constructing a jail to operating a jail. I know that when we start this whole process, we were talking about operational savings, and I really do hope that they come to fruition. And we're hoping also that as we go into budget season, that the number of unfilled positions by our sheriff ultimately through the operation of a new jail will be reduced. So that's all good news.
Just for the record, Mark, if you could identify yourself, because I know these are recorded. And
yes, I'm sorry, Mark Abbo, Chief Fiscal Advisor.
Okay, thank you. And then, I wanted to go back very quickly to Commissioner Varga's comments too, that when we're looking, and when I asked for this other update or report on possibilities of downsizing, I know it's far down the road already and might not be possible, but at least I'm hoping that we would be able to, as Commissioner Vargas said, a lot of the outlying communities that have prisoners have to send them, for instance, to Isabella County, and they're paying. So their taxpayers are paying for the jail, and yet and the millage for the jail, and yet they're having to pay again to send prisoners to Isabella County and other places around the state, and I'm wondering that additional capacity, if we stay prime as we are right now around 1,100, that would open up for some of those surrounding counties, surrounding communities, and maybe our communities that are have been carrying a double load by having to pay twice for the prisoners, we might be able to reduce that cost to them. And that would be something I'd like to find out, this report, that I'll be sending you some questions, Carter, and maybe we can get some answers on whether or not that might be a possibility to reduce the cost to our communities in Wayne County, and then take on, I know the county that Commissioner Varga had mentioned, I believe she's talking about Macomb County. It sounds like they put a new jail on the back burner, or if not, dropped it completely. I'm not sure. But anyway, there's a possibility of, taking some of those prisoners from surrounding communities or even surrounding counties, and to support the facility, and by being able to charge for those prisoners that come in from outside the county.
It's certainly something we can explore and get you some answers on.
Okay, I appreciate it. Anyone else online? I see, let's see, Felicia, our commission counsel. Did you have any questions or comments?
I do not, thank you.
Okay. Tim Johnson, did you wish to ask anything? I think is the questions that you sent me, we're going to have the conversation with both James Heath and the Sheriff's Department to get some answers to those questions. Didn't know if you had any additional questions or comments.
Commissioner Tim Johnson, Director of Administration. No other questions. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Anyone else have anything they'd like to mention? Any commissioners or committee members that might be online? I will, I guess we can move the agenda, I guess, Madam Clerk. I think we want to see if there's anyone, I don't know if there's been any emails submitted, any letters, emails, or if there's anyone online.
Not that I received here, but we're moving on to item E, such other matters as may be properly submitted before the committee.
Are there any such other matters? I've not received any. Madam Chair, you haven't received, or Madam Clerk, you haven't received any?
No, I have not.
Okay. Continuing on the agenda.
We're moving on to item F, which is public comments.
Do we have any public comments? I don't see anyone else online except for, but if you could unmute all the visitors, so we could, looks like they're still muted. Okay, oh, you've unmuted them. Is there anyone from the public that would like to comment or have a question? Anyone else that hasn't been able to speak up to this point? Is there anyone from the public that would like to speak or that's on the call? Seeing none, and Madam Clerk, you said there was was there no emails, did you say, or messages?
Yes, that's correct. We didn't receive any emails.
Okay, we'll move the agenda then.
We're moving on to item G, which is adjournment.
Move to adjourn.
Then move to adjourn. We're adjourned. Thank you.
Great meeting. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks. Thanks, Carter and everyone, and Victoria and Bill. Thank you.
Have a good day.
You too.
Have a good day. Thank you.